In this problem, we need to graph a quadratic inequality. You can tell this is a quadratic because of the x squared, and it's an inequality because we've got a greater than symbol here. What we want to do first is get the y on one side of the equation and everything else on the other. So I think I'm just going to subtract x squared from both sides here to start with. That will give us y is greater than a negative x squared minus 4. Now, when we graph this quadratic inequality, we're going to have a parabola. In this case, it's going to be a downward facing parabola because the sign of the x squared term is negative. And then the line of the graph is either going to be dashed or solid depending on the inequality sign. In this case, it's going to be dashed because we have a greater than instead of a greater than or equal to. And then we're going to shade either above or below that parabola. In this case, we're going to shade above because it says y is greater than. So that means we want all the y values above the parabola. So the first thing to do is to graph that parabola itself. And so for the time being, we should just think of this as the equation, y equals negative x squared minus 4. And probably the best way to go about graphing this is just to make a chart of values. I'm going to start with 0 for x. If we put in 0 for x, we would have negative 4 for y. And then let's put in 1 for x. 1 squared is 1, negative, so that's a negative 1 minus 4. That's going to be negative 5. And with a parabola, if you put in the negative x coordinate, you're going to get the same result for y because that x gets squared first off, turning it positive. So that's a negative 5. Let's just graph those points so far. So 0, negative 4, that's right here. And then we have 1, negative 5, and negative 1, negative 5. And let's just try, I'll extend this here. Let's just try negative 2 and negative 2 as well. Of course, these are going to both result in the same y value. So if we put a 2 in here, I've got 2 squared, that's 4. Negative 4 minus 4 is negative 8. So we have the points 2, negative 8, and negative 2, negative 8. So that would be here and here. So you can see the shape of the downward opening parabola there. Now we need to sketch in the line for this parabola. And again, it's going to be a dashed line because this is a greater than. A greater than or a less than would be dashed. Greater than or equal to or less than or equal to would be solid. So let's just fill in a dashed line here. And then we need to do our shading. And we shade above the parabola when it says y is greater than. We shade below the parabola when it says y is less than. So in this case, y is greater than, we shade above. So it's all of this region up here. So most of this graph that we can see gets shaded in just like this. And this area inside the parabola remains unshaded. So that is how to graph a quadratic inequality.